Hello and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, no matter where you are in the world. We are welcoming you to STAR Decoding Part 4. Yay! And I'm Jennie Friedman, and this is Lockhart, and we are here to talk today about, why don't you tell them who we're talking about?
I can't wait. So Jenny's suggestion was last week on Ariana Grande. This was my suggestion this week on Jennifer Lawrence. And you may ask, why her? Because there's so much polarization in her chart. And for those of you who need to feel included in this conversation of, well, I'm not actually in my villain era, how do I get projected this way? We're going to talk about that today. It's an interesting chart and it's an even more interesting human design.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start us off to go over, we've been doing the different, like we did Jim Carrey was our generator, and then we had Tony Robbins as our manifesting generator, and then last week we had Ariana Grande as our projector, and today Jennifer Lawrence is a manifester. So if you'd like to go back and look at the other episodes, this will kind of clue you into how your type might, you might actually find yourself in some of those designs. Manifestors are really interesting because they're very rare. Although I will say I know a few of them. I have a couple clients who are manifestors. My own daughter's a manifestor. And the thing about their energy that's important to understand, to my mind, right? And I'm not giving general stuff you can go Google. Okay. I'm talking about like what's so interesting about a manifestor. Okay. They are the initiators of actions and stuff. So they are the ones who are catalysts. They are the ones who are like initiating with their ideas, or and they have a strategy. When human design, a type is one of the five, right? And then we go down into your authority and into your profile lines, but your theme is the thing that's really intriguing about a manifestor. Their theme, their signature theme, there's a not self in human design where you're in your shadow or not your best. I call it your usual self because if you're a unawakened person, you're just living this 3D life, this will be your usual self. But the true self is the one where you decondition yourself from everything that society, your parents, your family, your friends all told you who you were. When you really realize who you are, you're your true self. And so we see everybody, and it's like like you're. We don't just stay in one and move to the other. It's all day, every day. You're dancing between your usual self and your more actualized true self. And so, a manifester in their not self, well, let's put it this way, their true self is where they're going to feel at peace. But
Mhm.
if they're in their usual self, they can be very angry. And the anger is huge. It's a huge thing that when you can find people, like I know people that I say, "Do you have a thing with anger?" And they go, "How did you know? I work so hard to not let anybody see that part of me." And I'm like, just because you're a manifester, like that just tells me that, and it's not just anger, like where you get mad. It is like, I'm going to take hostages. I'm going to destroy you. Anger. It's like not good.
In
Yeah.
those deadly sins that we talk about, that would be that rage wrath thing. So
Yeah.
it's not subtle.
Right. And the other side of that, the peace, is also real and true. So you might say, how does someone go from being that angry to then all of a sudden being this peaceful? It's because they suddenly don't buy into all the BS anymore, and they realize, oh, I don't have to be. Depends on the situation, but we'll look at some of this today with Jennifer's chart. And so the other thing that's so interesting about her is that she's a 5-1 generator. I mean, manifester. And 5-1s are, again, if you go in the profile lines and look and say, okay, that 5 is a visionary leader.
Mm,
And so she has a vision,
yes.
and she's got that leadership energy. Okay. But other people see her as the person with the resources. So it makes for a very interesting thing because it's not necessarily that she would see that in herself. And if you think of a manifestor as being the initiator, they're not really the ones to do the work.
Nope. That's
And
not
that's
how spearheading things goes.
right. And so if they are in a situation where they have to do all the work, they came up with the idea and they didn't have a generator to start doing the work and they started doing the work, that's how they can get really mad and
Mhm.
really angry because, I just said it was an idea and all of a sudden it's on me. And anyway, that's one of the interesting things. Another interesting thing about being a 5-1 is that you're really here to share your experience and you're supposed to share it. And I say supposed to, but like I also think like Taylor Swift, I use Taylor Swift as an example a lot because she's someone that we all know. She's singing the song, every song is about someone that we know. She rats everyone out, right? Well,
Yeah,
Jennifer does the same thing. She goes and she will tell, oh, Miley Cyrus was with me. Like she'll name drop all over the place. But
that.
it's in alignment though for a 5-1. And I do understand that people are like, no, it's not true. But is it not true? So
There's an interesting difference between using somebody as when you say the rat out energy is using the I'm going to say this person's name because, or I'm going to be transparent with who I'm with at any time these things happened. So one thing that Jennifer Lawrence has, and this is where she's a little polarizing, is ridiculous integrity and audacity. And the audacity isn't because she's trying to do this, it is pure and true to how she's built. So it's fun because you did your half of the assignment, human design, didn't know any of this, and voila, her astrology matches up perfectly.
interesting. Well, why don't you start? Let's look at the chart, the astrology chart first.
Do it. Let's go into, and for those of you who haven't seen other episodes, we're going to do a three-part through astrology. I will talk about the original design, the big three, then turn it over to Jennie. We're going to look at the free will section of her life, and then more for context. And then we're going to wrap it up with, so how did she transition into her fate, destiny, and purpose? Because that's what true success looks like. And magically, everyone we've talked about so far has done just that. All right,
This is exciting.
let's go to a share. Let's see what's up. And Jennifer Lawrence, and I'm happy that she has a 5 in her profiles because I changed my whole perspective on myself, my experience, and my direction thanks to Jennie, because 5 finally got explained to me. All right, here is a chart, and at surface level, it looks pretty harmonious. But let's make sure we know what we're seeing instead of glossing over. The big three, her sun, her moon, and her rising sign. Her sun is up here in the ninth house in Leo. Her Gemini also looks fairly peacefully placed in the seventh house. And we slide right over here to her ascendant, her rising in Sagittarius. And yet, there's a new character that we haven't discussed in the previous peoples. Jennifer has her dark moon Lilith, which is your shadow, it is your taboo, it is your unbelonging, and it is your rebel self right on top of the filter of how she is walking through life as a character and a person. So let's break that down a little bit. The shadow self is here to break norms. It is here to, like I said, be taboo. It is dangerous to the conformity of wherever it's at. My Lilith happens to be in the fifth house, and as a professional artist, I'm lucky. I'll do things outside the box and tip the apple cart around my creativity and my willingness to play. Jennifer is over here right on top of how she sees the world and how the world sees her back. So she's already got a little bit of why am I the villain? Which is why I find Manifestor and 5-1 and this astrology so fascinating. Short version, this is a very interesting, potent chart. And to not hear that as, oh, that means good or that means powerful. She is a powerhouse. Sag risings are something else. They are not wafy, they are not svelte in their energy or their physicality. And that's one thing that she's addressed in the arc of her career, going back to her teen years, which I'll get into more in her second act when she adults. The beauty of this is that she's going to come at life with optimism, expansion, a little bit of joviality, and I'm here for the adventure as long as it gains me wisdom or more learning. So that is an important component in her makeup. If we look at the Gemini moon, and we've seen somebody with a Gemini moon before, Jim Carrey, but they're very different people. He's male, he's older, he's Canadian, she's from Kentucky, and we'll take a look at the moon is the mother. Jim's was placed elsewhere. His was up here. I said he might be mildly psychic. I don't have anything big in Jennifer's chart to allude to that. In fact, her moon, as theoretically balancing and peaceful as that looks as a placement, Jennifer's got some junk with her mom because that moon in the seventh house of others, representing mother and intuition and emotions, is right across from who she has to be. I have my moon in my seventh, and I know this dance very well. In Jennifer's particular makeup, where her moon plays out is instead of being emotionally agile, she is the chameleon. She is somebody who is looking to get away from classic mother issues in Gemini, in this seventh house of how do I relate to others. I'd much rather impersonally connect everything than have to truly be bonded. Why is her mom a problem? Her mom fought the fact that Jennifer wanted to be an actress, even as a teen. And when she gave a performance that they say was scene stealing, her mom would tell her, well, the feedback is you're nothing special. It kind of wasn't all that. So it is that duality of that Gemini two-facey at its shadow side. So
Oof.
yeah, Jennifer almost, had she bought into that, which was one of many choices, had she been more dependent on her mother for her sense of self, even though it's opposite the true sense of self as character persona, not your original design, I relate to her. I had a lot of stuff said from my mom, and it was easy to think you're talking about anybody except me. So
Mm.
go, Jen. Now she's got that sun in Leo, and this is somebody who has a natural ability to perform, to contain and hold a lot of attention, to be the center of whatever's going on around her. And so many people have said she's a natural, she makes it look effortless and easy, she's a force of nature, she is a scene stealer. But if you add up that sun, moon, rising combination, she's just a straight up powerhouse. And we will come back later in her second act because it didn't get activated in her childhood. She has a stellium in the second house and a stellium in the eighth house, and they both deal with money, wealth, and resourcing. So
That's
I'm going
so
to stop
interesting.
sharing.
Seeing
It,
this, yeah, that's that resourcing, right? That's that one. That's that the resources. People look to her for the resources, and that can be a lot of pressure. And I'll show you her human design. So this is her chart. And you can see here that she has, when you see that you've got these two, your head and your Ajna is like defined. And again, defined energy means that you're pushing out a distinct point of view versus just absorbing everyone around you. She probably has a lot of mental chatter going on in her brain as she sorts through things. I see this in a lot of my clients too. It's interesting. But um, so let's look at some of the interesting things about her. And I go into the gene keys a little bit here outside of the human design. There's the gene keys is just another. I always joke around and say that the guy Alan Krakauer, who went into the woods one day and got channeled human design. He came and taught a bunch of people. And this guy, Richard Rudd, was one of the students. He went into the woods one day and he got a download, and that was Jinky. So they go, they go and they get the wisdom,
Woods
imparted.
are not the answer.
Everybody's like, oh, let me go in the woods and see what happens. So basically the people, and everybody has many audiences, but I like to look at one that I call your sticky gum on your shoe audience, because these are people that are in your morphogenic field to really, that you're here to help impact in a big way. And for her, she's got these justice warriors are probably kind of, a thing. But they're also people that are in their own right embodied magicians. They make things happen. They go from feeling very limited into feeling like, let me be real here, I'm not limited. And then they're very accepting
Mm.
of many, like, laws of nature kind of thing. So she also is getting people to go in their head, because I showed you that head thing, right? So the way she thinks of things, she's contemplating a lot, but in order to awaken, right? Her people want to be, they want the highest. I mean, everybody has a kind of a lower vibration and moves up into a higher vibration. Everybody has that in many areas of your chart. But it's interesting because where she shines is this conscious sun, the top right hand side. And this is about forgiveness. So while
Mm.
she holds the energy for a lot of intolerance, which is why a lot of people around her will reflect that as the low vibration of intolerance. And then as they grow and expand their consciousness, as she has, where she can forgive herself, she can forgive others. Perhaps she's on that journey. I don't really know if she's achieved that, especially. But I do know she's using logic to get there. She is an emotional manifester, so she rides the wave and
Yeah.
and lands when she lands. As she gets older, I would assume that she will land in the space of forgiveness over and over again, probably, because you don't get to have that be your sun where you're shining. I mean, I shouldn't say you don't get to. You can be completely asleep in this life and stay asleep, I suppose. But I think with all that she has going on, she probably is very aware. I mean, she's got grace, she's got and a lot of openness and love, and she also, it's unconscious, but the gate of provocation. So she is a sacred provocateur. She's
Yay.
here to liberate people by provoking them. So she
Mm.
provokes others to step into self responsibility. It's not a control thing. For her, it's like, oh, you just got all upset. Think about that. Like,
Okay.
that's not on me, that's on you. Which is interesting. She also is a big storyteller. So when you see her sharing her truth, I do think people, some people will love it, other people will hate it. It's just definitely interesting for her to have those, a lot of grace. She holds a lot of grace, and she holds a lot of, she's almost like that rebel without a cause person, only she does have a cause.
I like that you use the word grace with her because it's so easy to fall into the trap of somebody who is a Sag rising. Those are the natural MCs of the game. They think they are the rock stars, and sometimes, and this is where they get into involuntary villain era, they can overstay their welcome. They just were a little too much too long. And there is a point in Jennifer's life where she did get a little like, this is where I'm a little tired of my industry at this point, and I'm going to dial it, I'm going to dial it back. But more importantly, it's the recognition of I probably am putting some of my softer gifts on the back burner, such as grace. And it might be time to lean back a little bit, let everybody's wind cool down, which is logic again. She does have a placement where this is somebody who's extremely intellect forward, even if they won't be branded as an intellectual at first. And so let's go to her chart and look at the second act and see, how is it that She's perceived as dangerous to conformity and does wise things with it. Here we go. All right, back to Jennifer. And this was the perfect seg into some other areas. We talked about the 2-8 axis. This is the most potent part of her chart. It's not the Pluto in the 12th house, and it isn't the Lilith on her ascendant. We're going to take a look at what she's dealing with in her house of self-resource. She's got dual stelliums. There's Uranus, which is the doing things differently, the Neptune, blurred boundaries and vision. Saturn, you've got to discipline yourself. And then, oh, we'll come back to that in the third act because we know that's the part of fate and destiny. That little trio right there speaks to the fact that she is a high school dropout who did not get her GED.
Oh,
Power move.
that is a
In
power move.
America, you're free. I mean, this is somebody who's betting on their brain and betting on themselves in an unconventional and possibly, with Neptune, overly visionary, lofty way. Left the construct, and with her Saturn in retrograde, is I need to build on the inside versus climb the ladder on the outside. That is one of the key points in her charts that I like a lot for her transition from teen into adult. To me, that sparks some powerful, adventures. She's ready to set sail under her own skin, and that's incredible. It is because normally what we say in astrology is you've got this first house, whatever that sign is, in order for you to handle wealth and worth of self, your second house has to get expressed just as strongly, if not a little more, as a progression, because you can't have this kaboom, here I am, and then whop, here's my worth. So she has a big first house and then a very quiet, contracted second house. She did the work. And that's where I find that her second house has the ability to anchor all of that feist, fire, and the world is my oyster energy.
That makes sense.
Yet, when you have Uranus in your second house, whether it's in your first or very close to your ascendant like Ariana, if it rolls over into the second, it can create the experience of I'm the outlier, I'm the catalyst, I'm the misfit, I'm the loner. And she
Yeah.
does speak of all of that. In fact, she says, it's not that I dealt with a lot of problems. It was really me versus mom. But socialization wise, I never fell with the right crowd. I never found them. And it was part of the reason I dropped out of high school. Okay, so you were intuitive enough with that second house Neptune. This isn't it. Unplug, go somewhere else. Even as daring as a move that is in America, where what do you mean you're a high school dropout? The only ones we hear about doing that are business titans and they're men. Jennifer is a feminist, and we'll get into that later. Now, there's a fine line between her being what she is and who she is. And she's always said, notice me for my actions, my results, and my work versus the Jennifer show. And yet, because she's such a highly charismatic, large aura person with her placement in the ninth house, that upper sun, and that, accelerator, that Lilith on the ascendant, you're not going to forget her. She'll take up a lot of space even without trying. She's busy making sure you go, look over here, not me. Look what I'm doing, not me. And that is really precocious, especially for somebody who didn't finish classic coded modeling and programming.
Right.
One of the things to look at in contrast to this energy over here is the eighth house. So the second house is where you self-resource and you work on your internal wealth, worth, emotional IQ, financial IQ. The eighth house is other people's money. It's transformative versus grounding.
Right.
Is where you go, get dropped in the jungle and figure it out versus you figure it out in your backyard kind of thing. And what's most important is she does have her Chiron right here in Cancer. There's going to be a sacred wound around nurturing motherness or intuition. I'm glad it didn't play out in intuition. I think she's got it, even if I can't call her psychic. And because her mom, like mine, played such a potent opposition, she knew
Right.
who she was more because she didn't have big entanglement issues. That's really key to her thriving. Her other big thing is that in her adult life, and we've seen this with Jim Carrey, his was down here in the third house of communication. Hers is up here with other people betting on her. At one point, she was the highest paid female entertainer. She won an Oscar at 22, which is the second youngest. She's got a close proximity between the two charmed planets. Her charmed planet one, Venus, and charmed planet two, Jupiter. Why do we care about where it's at? The Venus is in Leo. She's going to want to go big as far as beauty and value and worth and wealth. She's part of the 29 club. Look over here. She's got Jupiter. Jupiter
Yep.
is at its happiest in Cancer. If Jupiter is the gas pedal and Cancer is the resources and nurturing and wealth, she was probably poised to make money off of others without trying too hard. And this is going to also enlarge her attractiveness, even if she's not beautiful. You're going to frame her up as your high value. Let's amplify your aura and let's make sure that people see you as friendly, even if it's in the eighth house of your karma.
So
So
interesting that her
that's how I
Chiron
think
is
this,
there
yeah.
too.
I agree. I bet you she and her mom were past life nenes, just like me and mine. So let me time out of that and say a little more about what her first decade looked like. Her breakout role was Winter's Bone. You don't have to know these movies, just think about how she built a reputation as an actress. That was a poverty-stricken Ozark teenager with an alcoholic mom and a missing dad. That was the story where people said nobody could have done it except her. This was
Right.
there is no second who could have been an understudy for her on this. So where do you think she went for that? Well, mom was obviously the louder of the two parents. She grew up in Kentucky. She knows exactly what the Ozarks are and are not. Kentucky, even if you're cosmopolitan there, is not glamorous. It's certainly a more rural culture. And those are two very strong parent models. She's got her Chiron of mom here, but she's got her Saturn of dad directly opposite. She knows when you give her a movie of these two aren't working well together, what to do with those two archetypes of mother father. She destroyed that role, and I was here for it. Then she said, you know what? Thanks for my breakout role. Now let's make myself a star. Let me sign up with the X-Men series. So for 6 years, she was a superhero, even if it was complex and vulnerable and nuanced. So now she's got that, and she's got to go to that self-discipline of I'm in costume prep for 6 hours a day to film 2 hours of scenes. This is not glamorous. It kept her very grounded, and that's why I like that she's an anti-diva personality. And then let's move on to the Academy Award at 22. Silver Linings Playbook. It was the first of multiple collaborations with the director David O. Russell. And she played somebody who wasn't great at winning, who fell for somebody who had lost everything due to his bipolarism. And they end up being an unlikely pairing that don't necessarily heal each other, but get each other out of their own madnesses relatively. And I think that's incredible. This is where we start to see a theme of transformation. Every role she's taking is how can I reinvent under my skin, which is exactly how Jennifer is built and walked through her 20s.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
So she's 22 and she wins this Oscar. That's also her Chiron ironic wound time. So is that when she fell? She tripped and that started
that was
kind of,
that was that award ceremony where she was in the heavy, heavy dress and tried to do it all alone and had to ask for help. And even got labeled like, oh, you did that for attention.
oh yeah, yeah,
The last thing I ever want, and this is why I didn't do any sort of classic wedding, Don't make me not breathe. Don't put me in tall heels and don't put me in a dress that's 12 feet wide and
It
weighs
made
a
me
billion.
go upstairs
And
in
then go
heels.
upstairs that aren't even real stairs. If you look at those stairs, they're those dumb graduation stairs where it's this tall but this wide. So you have to like almost Chinese foot thing your way up. I was terrified of my graduation, pomp and circumstance. We had to take stairs, right foot, left foot, pause, right foot. I went, this is too much choreography for me. I'm gonna break my neck.
Yeah, interesting.
But she had a very good run where she started making a lot of movies in each year. It became a lot, but it was easy for her because that Sag Rising is a lot. Many Golden Globes, many roles where they are feminist driven. She's not just, hi, I'm a female in a movie that's been transformed from male to female. She is a she is a opposed protagonist. Do you remember the Hunger Games series? Everyone
Absolutely.
said, why would you pick Jennifer Lawrence? Katniss Everdeen is this, that, this, that. Why would you give somebody who's not lean and athletic? She is athletic. She's incredibly physical. Jen can take a punch and laugh in your face. She is what you want. You just don't know what the packaging is, and you're having stuff with that.
Right.
She did decide, I'm a little tired of the media scrutiny. You didn't like my choices. I like my choices because I'm very self-defined. And leans back. Picked a few odd roles. They weren't exactly fabulous. America loves it. They love it when you win and they hate it when you're losing. And nah, 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 nah. Madonna is a great example of this, is when she knocks it out of the park with an album, everyone goes, oh, she's so good, of course. And when she says something even mildly controversial, it's just like, oh, Madonna, nothing good
Yeah.
about her. So it's having potent stuff around your ascendant where you don't have the luxury of just being, hi, it's me. It's got turbulence on it. And that can serve, you'll find the people who like that authenticity and you'll find the people that go, you threaten my conformity.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's her
Well,
second act, and we'll talk about a few of the flop roles real quick. Is Nobody loved hmm, nobody loved Joy. I love the movie Joy. It was a biopic of the underdog female entrepreneur.
I
I
remember
thought
that
she was
one.
great
Yeah.
at that. But on the set, she bit it and hit heads hard with her director. Why? Because in her second house, she has all those outer planets and that weird vibe called I'm betting on myself, even if it's your vision, and I'm fighting with you because I love you. And if I didn't fight you, I'd be indifferent, then I wouldn't care about this project, but I'm too passionate to not care, so I can't be the one you cast if you want me to be. Classic.
Yeah.
She did Sparrow and she worked really hard on it. She studied ballet and she took yoga and she had a Russian dialect coach, blah, blah, blah. And the movie just wasn't that great of a vehicle. We, it wasn't quite Angelina Jolie, who I love, doing the Lara Croft, Tomb Raider female Indiana Jones. And she also wasn't quite a counterpart to John Wick or Matrix. It was really hard to understand, why is she carrying this foreign assassin energy? It's not really an offshoot from the Hunger Games. Everyone's like, now, boo, Jen, boo. Jen, no, we're putting her in the villain corner, and she's not. She's polarizing, but she's not a villain, which is why I'm glad we're doing Manifestor in 5-1. And then the last one that truly was where she said, mea culpa, I regret doing this. She picked the movie Passengers with Chris Pratt, which was a futuristic escaping dystopia
Oh, I
in
remember.
utopia. I watched it. I'm a film junkie. I like, if I could do my life over again, I would do film. The fact that it was the dynamic between two people semi sharing the same sharing the same jail cell, and neither one negotiating the violation between each. Maleficent did it right. We knew who got violated and who was the bad guy. These two being like, and not really spoken. This was not the best film for America. I could see this being a European one. I
I
could see
actually
this.
really liked it, yeah. But it was kind of creepy and weird. Yeah.
Yep, that was a blurred line. And if any of you do like films of, well, we don't really know who the bad guy is, Jabaro from Sex, Death, and Robots is a short film where it's two cutthroat people, and both one is busy saying, like, no, it's you. But they're busy using unscrupulous, nefarious means to justify what they do. So, and that's what I've got for her second act. What have you got before we slip into the third?
Yeah, so I thought what I would share is looking at her. So in human design, they have this thing called the incarnation cross. And the gene keys, that is called your genius activation sequence. So I will read it for you so you can kind of understand that it's first of all, it's a left angle cross of revolution. And left angle people, like I've said before, to my mind, kind of take one for the team because they are here to they impact through others really well, obviously, as you're discussing. So I'll just read out what I wrote here. So it's basically her conditioning. She was raised that not self energy, right? Included energy for worrying about how her individual expression would impact her relationships. And so she could feel very purposeless under the weight of that pressure that people, and that's probably why she left high school. Like that makes a lot of sense. But then, in order to overcome that challenge, she developed the skill of leading people through rocky times. Basically, understanding there's like flow and natural state of energy, and especially emotional energy. She's an emotional manifester. So she's meant to move into right timing. It has to do with timing. And so, in that way, it's kind of like a manifesting generator. And that's manifesting generators are part generators and part manifestors. So there is an emotional sense of when it's time for a change and a renewal and even a revolution. And she taps into that naturally as a skill that she's developed in order to get over, like to not worry about what people think.
Yeah.
So because she mastered that skill, it's what helps her shine when it comes to forgiveness and being the ultimate, forgiveness to her is probably the ultimate solution where we just, you know what, let's live, let's forgive, let's move on. And she has a logical understanding of how humans work and how the patterns of the universe flow, and the ability to see that forgiveness is often the only thing left to do when problems arise. So she's open to a variety of perspectives and a willingness to see all sides. She's actually very open. She's constantly thinking and probably ruminates a lot and that worry machine. But when it's in its heightened, expanded state, it can remain unattached to subjective her own reality. Like she could probably be reasoned with really well, but she's going to feel it. That her subjective truth is the reason she's here. She's going to own her. She's going to walk her talk, talk her walk. She's going to walk
You
her talk.
set up you set up the third act beautifully. The whole idea of she owns her own truth.
Yeah. And that brings us to the last one, which is your dharma, the purpose, your why you're here. So because she shines in that way, and so her dharma is to work, is doing work she loves and inspiring others to do the same. Like she's like, I love this. What you love, you do that, right? And she's a revolutionary leader for radical self-expression.
Ah, how perfect. You know what? This is the most congruent of all the ones we've done. And so let's take it home. Let's show exactly how what you said has everything to do with her astrology in her final act. And it's not about age. It's not, oh, well, it happens when I'm 35 or 50 or
No,
no,
she's young. Yeah.
she's only 35 years old. She started acting, she started getting recognized around 15, 16. So that's 20 years. She's done 30 films, not including TV. And she took a 5-year semi break when she said, nah, 3 films in a row that weren't great and scrutiny, and I have to keep standing up to the same conversation in interviews. Wow, you're not your classic, Skeletor, you're not your classic Barbie, you're not classically. She's just like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
My conversation in my mind is worth more than the vibe you're trying to bring me to. So let's talk about the three. And we know the formula because we've been doing this. We're on our fourth of five types. And so the consistency is where's their 10th house? What is their career and public reputation? What is their midhaven? And what is their north node? When you have to wander off into destiny where you don't get your playbook, you just have to surrender and experience your way through it. So, like you just said, is finding her truth. Her 10th house here has Virgo on it. Now, this is a minor placement here. This is a minor aspect. It's fortune in Libra. She was going to make some money in the arts. She was destined. That was a good idea. She married an art dealer.
Yep.
So that to me speaks a lot about it, seventh house can be partnerships, eighth house can be transformation, ninth can be your second marriage. 10th is, well, who's your power couple, whether it's marriage or not? Who's going to help you with your reputation? And are you choosing wisely? So when people really want to go and meet their highest potential with an other in, lockstep, 10th can show you a lot. This is why I endorse her dropping out of high school because she's got her Mercury in Virgo in the 10th house, because the 10th house gives her this I'm meticulous, I'm detailed, I'm a little analytical. Those are normally positions that go into healthcare or something very detail-y and oriented. Some people who are 10th house Virgo are craftspeople. All of these are very dependable. And if you recycle it into Jen's world of being a Sag rising, it makes sense that it's acting. She's not trying to be an actress. She's trying to actually embody and authenticate the industry itself. And that's what I like most about her. In the 10th house, we have her Mercury. Excellent speaking and writing skills. She penned an essay on the wage gap between genders. And she didn't have to do that. She was already the top paid female. But she said, Virgo is task and service and purified, genuine work. How can I get paid so much when once upon a time I didn't, and other people who look like me are experiencing less compensation, less valuation for the same work simply because of appearance or the way they're born? She
That's
said, not happening.
interesting that because her Mars is in the sixth house. That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yep. And we've talked about this. Mars is what you'll fight for. It's where your action, your ambition, and sometimes your aggression can be. And you said at her not self, she can get angry. And not
Yeah.
just a little. This was a hell of an essay. I mean, my God, read it simply so if you're scared to use your voice, somebody showed you the steps.
Awesome.
And with that Mercury, so very close to the midhaven, the highest point possible of where your sun can hit in your whole experience, that practical service went into philanthropy. Jen's genius, especially as a Gemini moon, is how can I pull two worlds together? She had experiences. She'll fight for you being fed, which is very Virgo. Here's your harvest. She fights for LGBT. Her first love, she knew was gay, and she tried everything to make sure they could stay in love and ultimately surrendered and said, I actually also hate the way they're trying to cure gayness in people. I'm against conversion therapy because even though I can't have this person the way I want to love them the way I can. That is so smoking brilliant. I love it. She's
Hmm.
also pro-choice. She had to have an abortion at one point. There was medical complication, and she is, if women aren't free with their body, then they don't understand full liberation because one half of the world who's male does, not by experience, just by birthright. We have to fight for the experience of the same birthright. And so it's very much yours is conceptual and ours is material. And I'll fight you in the material to have it because you've got it in conceptual. You'll never have to know. I'm here
Yeah.
for it. She's
Yeah.
got intelligence, she's got humility, she is very anti-diva. She is critical of the perception of herself. She will come back at you. Yeah, what's wrong with me eating a hamburger? Yeah, what's wrong with me not being a size 4? And
Right.
that on its to turn that on its head is exactly why we want that midhaven in Virgo, where if you're going to nitpick me, I'll nitpick you back without being too egocentric and personified. She's doing it as a impersonal bridge right into dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Second house, her north node, her destiny. She's going to have an uncertain, uncharted, unfamiliar, yet fated adventure into what is my inner worth? What is my self-reliance? How can I handle resource? How do I deal with loss? Because it's right across from the eighth house where sometimes you have to lose to gain. I She had to fight some karma called Venus is right on my south node where it beautifies my comfort zone of my past lives and being center stage. How do I make it not about me? How do I go from me to we? How do I make sure this is the collective progress? How do I fight for group advancement as a solo person? How do I deal with letting go of the spotlight? And here is her biggest thing, and I think she's done it. How do I find team playing as a loner? And that is my case for Jennifer Lawrence.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can stop sharing. And guys, we have for you next week our last episode.
we do. And don't forget, we have links, and obviously you are welcome to reach out to us. You have proximity. We have
Yeah.
we have snack size, get to know us and let us have a conversation. We have teeny little sessions, we have series. If this is something where you're starting to see what we're trying to do is, even though these are famous, successful people, let them create an opening where you can see yourself as, well, how do I become that version of here's my low, here's my middle notes, and here are my high ones in my own life and experience. We are here to make this easier for you and suck the suffering right out of all of those blind spots and trials and errors.
Love it so much. Yes. So if you have any comments, please post them below. If you would like of if you guys are enjoying this, definitely put down who you would like to see next. And we may make more than just the 5 types that we started with. We will see. We'll see how it goes. So I very much appreciate you being here and check out both of our channels. All the information's below if you'd like to work with us. And we will see you next time, right?
Thanks.
Thanks. All right. Bye.